Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Contact Lost, the podcast about Polish competitive Warhammer 40k. Today with me, two special guests from the national team, you could say. So I give you Typhus.
Hello.
And Majson.
Hello.
Right, so we've invited the guys because there's quite a lot going on in the national team, and there's also quite a lot going on in Warhammer 40k with a humongous amount of releases in a short space of time. So the meta is very dynamic, and yeah, that's a big headache for the guys that need to follow it, get to know each and every army and how they play against each other. And to help with that, they've actually got 3 team friendlies organized in the upcoming future in the space of the next 2-3 weeks. So we're going to talk about that. So without any further ado, the first opponent is Team Spain. Would that be a correct statement?
Yep, I would correct one thing, or for listeners, tell what we are actually talking about, is that we are doing it via TTS, just 8v8 matches with an opposing team that's following the full WTC team composition rules, using the WTC terrain packs and all the WTC FAQs. So we are essentially playing a team composition to get familiar with how the game is looking right now and what's the top dog and how every army is working. And we've been doing those matches since, I don't know, what was it, Majson? It was December of 2020.
Yeah,
I think
like
that. I think it was the first one. I think we're over 20 8v8 matches already, with notably Greek Hammer event in the mix. So we've been playing a lot, but the experiences we've had from previous games will not really translate to this point, because the meta is shifting so much that whatever we figure out previously is basically non-existent with every couple new releases, like is the case right now.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that you're going through the whole process, right? So all the pairings, etc., which basically sets the scene for the team's course, doesn't it?
Yes, and we've actually just done both pairings for today, which is against French team Paris United, which won their WTC qualification event or tournament. I don't know how to call it exactly. I don't know their system very well. And the other team is the new Spanish team. And I am captain in those 2 games, and we have a third game going on, which when you are pairing, Majson?
On Saturday. So.
And we are playing against Ireland. So we have 3 games going at the same time. And what is actually great is that all the lists, because we decided to not go with the best team composition for every of those games, rather test out new ideas and see what's actually working, and not, bring Crusher Stampede to every match and get no information about the actual state of the meta. So there's a lot of wacky stuff happening and lists that you wouldn't normally see at all.
Yeah, exactly. And also we got new codexes to test, and such as Gene Stealer codes and Custodes and Tau. And this are the first opportunities to test them in 8v8 team composition.
Yeah, and it looks like that might have been a good call not to take Crusher Stampede to all of these, because with the new codex that's supposed to come out shortly, the whole army might change and not work the way it does today.
It might basically get invalidated.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so back to Team Spain. So what was the thought process behind, and how did the team composition come to be? Did you arbitrarily, let's say, choose it, or did you pick people out from volunteers? Typhus, why don't you start?
So we usually ask people who's willing to play, but when we are facing like the best teams, we kind of pick the players that will play ourselves. So I think against Spain, we actually handpicked the team. And when it came to the other pairings, we actually asked who was willing to play. So there won't be a situation that one person is playing 3 games at once and doesn't have time to prepare for all of them. So I think this one we chose the team fully, as I remember, and not from the group of volunteers. And it was mainly chosen to see how the armies that were hit the most by the new chapter approved and balanced data slate actually fare in the new setting. You yourself are playing in one of those games, Joker, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. I am. So anyone can try. You're very generous to give people opportunities. But we'll get to that later, probably when we talk about the Irish team.
Yep.
Yeah. So okay. So you've handpicked the team for Spain. So which factions did you pick?
Yeah, let me consult our table. So we obviously chose players who had, I don't know how to say it in English, but had good perspectives, like were prospecting players, I would say. That
Good potential in them.
yeah. So we wanted to test them out. Some of them haven't played against the top teams because they weren't included in the previous matchups. Like say we have Sinal playing Renegade Knights.
Mhm.
So we had a mix of players that we thought could be included in the team, and also a mix of armies that we wanted to test out. So we, for example, obviously have the new GSC, the Custodes. Maybe against Spain we don't have Tau, but in the other games we have Tau. So we will see how it works. But to go through like the armies that we chose, it's Sisters, which we both think with Majson that this army got hit a lot by the recent changes, and I would say unjustingly. I don't know the exact phrase for that.
Unfairly.
But
It wasn't justified.
yeah, it wasn't justified. Yeah. But we wanted to see. Turns out they aren't as good as they were previously, but they still can work. Grey Knights, which were hit a lot as well. Renegade Knights, Drukari, no surprises there, but we wanted to test how the new changes to Artists of Flesh actually impacted the army, and whether what we were actually thinking about, so playing custom covens, can actually work in the team composition. Turns out in the pairings we would go back to Artists of Flesh, but now we know in hindsight. We have also the a la Sigler list of AdMech because we want to test it out and see how it works. Although we aren't so sure about AdMech in current situation. Like this army, we weren't sure whether it fits into the top 8, so that's also why it's here, to see how it works. Then we have Custodes, obviously new army. A lot of people think it's really strong. We kind of need more data because we expect that the win ratio right now might be inflated by people not actually being familiar with the army when they play against it. Then we have Gene Stealer Cults, which is another new army. And then we have Orcs, which were hit a lot when it comes to point changes. Like they lost 100-something points per list.
Okay. And where do we go from there? So those were the picks, right? And the reasoning behind it is, like you said, the recent changes to these armies and to see how they fare mostly against the current meta.
And
So,
also to have players of those armies play.
Yeah,
Obviously.
yeah, sure. So, what about the opposition lists? What interesting stuff can you say about them? Because I think there were a couple of surprises, especially in the Spanish team, at least from our perspective, obviously. Majson,
Okay.
why don't you tell us a bit about that?
So going army per army, they got the custodies. It's not a surprise really, list because more or less they all look more or less the same. We got the AdMech list, so another take on Skitari veteran cohort. Then we got a little surprise they're trying to test Space Wolves army.
Who is, by the way, played by one of the better players of Space Wolves that was featured in many TTS tournaments, and I think he was even playing in a charity tournament in US. James Paris, or however you pronounce it. Sorry, Jamie. Or I might have butchered your name twice already, so that's a good start.
Let's not go. Let's not try the third time. I think he's tweaks Cult Hero as well, in terms of playing wolves. Does he do some sort of content, or is it not? Or is it not that guy?
I don't know. I don't watch any content from outside. I don't watch any 40k content actually, so I'm not a great person to ask about that.
And Tweak can't tell us because he's sidelined with COVID, unfortunately. So yeah, a speedy recovery to him. All right, carry on, Majson, please.
Okay, so then we got a mix of Sisters and Imperial Guard. So another interesting list. They got Tau, and this was the Tau based on vehicles instead of broadsides, which we test. And then we got the Thousand Suns with Magnus. So it's also something different. We got also Necrons, and the last one is Tyranids with Gene Steel cards. But the different tech, they do not use the monster monster heroes. They rely on Gene Stealer spam. Both kind of Gene Stealers. So we got the Tyrannid Stealers and Pure Strains from Gene Stealer cards.
No, so it's not the typical list that came to be after the High Fleet Leviathan supplement got released, is it?
Yeah.
Then it's a bit more of a mix.
So
Yeah, and you can see a lot of that in both our teams and in our list and like the opposing teams list. Like we are testing stuff that you wouldn't normally take, and it was actually discussed before the whole thing was set up. I spoke with the captains and I was like, we directly want to test new stuff, so do not expect only the best list from our side. And they actually said that's perfect because they wanted to see what's boiling in the new meta kettle. So we'll see.
Okay, so did any of those lists from their side pick your particular interests? Any real surprises? I guess Astra Militarum's a bit of a surprise at least, and Magnus probably as well.
Well, Magnus wasn't here. They didn't have Thousand Suns. It's the another team.
I missed that. Maybe.
No. Actually, we won't get into depth when it comes to the lists by the French team because they ask us to not share it because they have like a tournament upcoming in next 2 weeks, and they wanna have an upper hand or a surprise and not be countered. So now we've spoiled one thing. They did bring Magnus, but
okay,
that's all we will say about the specifics.
Sorry, missed the yeah, the wrong list.
Okay,
But I think when it comes to interest, obviously the Space Wolves army, as anyone who's listening to this podcast knows by now, we love bashing on Marines. And actually, I think I don't know if Irish actually brought Marines, but we are surprised that all the teams actually brought something, which is wearing power armor, and I do not mean Grey Knights or Thousand Suns by that. And I'm looking forward to seeing whether that army will work, because I think with all the unjustified point changes lately, this army will suck. but now that I said that, probably we'll get wrecked. So I'm ready for that curse.
Yeah, that's probably what will happen. Majson, any favorites from yourself?
I actually love playing Gene Stealer cards, and a mix with Gene Stealers there is my favorite. So yeah.
Okay.
But
Hey.
actually, when it came to pairings, I think that game will, because their Gene Stealers got paired into our orcs with double Daka jets and 9 buggies. So I think that that game will not have much history, no matter who go. Like, if one goes first, it might be over before anything happens. So we we will see. But that one might not be actually interesting.
Okay, so speaking of pairings, can you walk us a bit through how it went and who's playing who and what are your, or maybe, okay, let's not ask too many questions at once. So let's go through the pairing process and who's ended up playing who or will play who.
Yeah. So I think both against France, against Spain, we got the pairing of Tau versus Dark Eldar, and those are very different lists of Tau and Dark Eldar in all those cases. So we are really looking forward to seeing how that pairing actually works, because I've seen a lot of gossip that this pairing is actually very bad for Dark Eldar, but I can see that not being true. But having said that, I'm looking forward to seeing whether my presumptions will be verified by the games. And that was the first pairing. Then, as I said, we have the orcs playing needs. We have our Grey Knights playing Necrons, and our Genestealer cards playing Imperial Guard. Although we were unhappy because we wanted to put our AdMech player into the Imperial Guard, because obviously our AdMech player, you might know from, I think Kupcho was on this podcast, right?
Yeah, he was twice or thrice even.
Yeah, so he was here, so he's a vivid Imperial Guard fan, but as the army is shit right now, so he was really surprised that they brought Imperial Guard, and I was so hoping that he could play against it. And
lose.
yeah, like the team spirit is great when you hope the other players lose. Like, you're doing something right, yeah.
Yeah, totally.
But
A bit of
no, that
banter's
didn't
always
work out.
welcome.
I was trying, but they didn't take our Admech as an attacker to that list. So sadly, but we got a mirror of Admechs, and those lists are very similar, as I would say most Admech lists will be right now.
Mhm.
So we'll see whether more chickens will be better than the transports. And our Castos got paired into Space Wolves, which we actually find kind of surprising, because seeing the results, we expected Castos to be really good into Marines, especially that we brought the Shadowkeeper list into this pairing. So that list can be better in close combat, as it can lower the strength and also deduct one from the attacks from opponent.
Yeah, and a
And
heavy
we
fight
were
pass.
surprised because our Castos were our defender, and they actually attacked us with those Space Wolves. So we were kind of surprised, and I'm even more looking forward to that game saying that, because I think they might know something we don't, or the other way around.
Oh, Marine armies have a recent history of bouncing off whatever you guys throw at them recently.
Yeah,
So
we
we'll
haven't
see.
lost single game against Marines, so
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Maybe
it's
this
yet.
will be the first.
Yeah,
Hopefully not, though. Obviously, because we're rooting for our guys. Except if it was Kupcha playing against Imperial Guard. Right, I stopped you there. I think there are 2 more games to mention.
yeah. There's our Renegade Knights against Thousand Sons, which is a pairing that we've played a lot in Poland, because I think no other country other than Poland actually has that many Renegade Knight players. You can see like you can say that you can see that when you look at any of our events, like Renegade Knights on the spam of War Dogs is one of the most popular armies we actually field. And it was even featured on Gunhammer that Duda was playing on last tournament to win the event on the first table with Renegade Knights. And 2 events ago, he won the actual event with Renegade Knights. So, having said that, that's an army that we have a lot of experience right now. And seeing it will play against Thousand Suns, we are so interested how different the French players, not French, Spanish players will approach this game compared to what our guys did locally. And last pairing is our lovely Majson against opponent's Custodes.
So Sisters versus Custom. More or less 4-up saves, and we'll see how it goes.
All right, because I was gonna ask what's your take on that game, but I guess you've already said all there is to say on it.
Yeah, I played this matchup before the Custodes Codex, and it went more or less. It always depends on the saves that Custodes makes. You know how it goes with 4-up. You can make 75% saves and just win, score a big win, or fail all and lose.
Oh yes,
but I'm very interested how it will go with the new codex, because all of the defensive stratagems for Custodes cost less, so it's very hard to just to
Kill
it's
them,
hard.
you know.
Yeah, they spend CPs longer, so I it's hard to bleed them out from the command points. Yeah,
and you have full Bloody Rose.
Yeah, and I got full Bloody Rose, so my shooting is not that good, not as good as it was before. Yeah, but yeah, we already said that Sisters got pretty much screwed by the recent changes.
Yeah, one of the armies that got more received the harsh end. Right, so are you guys happy with those pairings, or are we not going to talk about any estimations at this point?
Yeah, I think in general we are pretty happy. I won't get into any specific estimations, because when we had those previous games happening, if somebody got estimation of their opponent too early, they could, for example, adapt their gameplay to what the opponent actually expected to get out of that game. So I would prefer to not share that information till the game is done, because I think it's not fun to know how your opponent will play, because essentially when you know that your opponent estimated that they will win big, they might play more aggressively to actually score.
Yeah, you can adapt to that and then counter it.
Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah. So let's not get into that. I would say we are pretty happy, but having said that, in all of our pairings ever, I don't think we ever said that they went shit, and neither our opponents. Both sides always are kind of happy till the results start coming in, and it shows that someone was wrong. Which so far it was usually our opponents, but we never discredit the fact that it can be us this time.
Yeah, well, long may that streak continue. Right, so I think we've pretty much covered the Spanish team.
I would add one thing about the Spanish team. I think they were one of the better teams we've actually played on TTS. I think Patrick can actually agree with me on that one, because we've played 2 games against them and we lost one and drew one, but it was in like June, July, something like that. But they were one of the better teams, excluding I would say Germany. They were Germany, and I think the first French team that we've played against were the best teams that we've played against.
Yeah, I agree.
So we were so happy to get another game with them, and especially when we agreed to test out new ideas, we were even more happier that we will be able to see what they actually have in mind, what's their ideas, and share like the whole thought process and watch those games, because it might be actually more of a learning curve for us than some of the previous games that we played that actually turned out to be quite a stomp.
Well, fingers crossed for that then. And before we move on, when's the deadline for the games?
I don't think we have set anything in stone. It's more like whenever the guys will have time, hopefully quicker rather than later.
It's usually 7 to 10 days.
Yeah, within 2 weeks usually get every game done. It might be that one player, I don't know, goes on holidays, and then you actually have that one player playing their game later on. But usually it's pretty quick. Like, we've done the pairings around an hour ago, and already some people are set for next week. So it goes usually pretty smoothly.
Okay, that's
Unless
really
you're
cool.
playing, Canada, like with it, when there's the time zone issue that you need to accommodate for as well.
Yeah, well, that's self-explanatory, isn't it? All right. Well, how about we move on to the Paris United team? Let's go with our team composition, and then I guess we're not going to talk much about their lists because of their requests, but we'll see. Majson, what was the idea and thought process for the team that you've set out to play against those guys?
Actually, the Typhus was the captain for this, but I can just go for our lists.
I will give one information about all of this, is that this sparing was set as the third one that will happen at the same time. So we just ask who would be willing to play more than one, and sometimes in case of specific players, 3 matches simultaneously. So it was more of a like last call, because as I said, the French team has a big tournament coming in 2 weeks. So they wanted to play test some stuff before that tournament. So it was a short notice for the whole gaming session.
Yeah, but as far as I can remember, it wasn't an issue to find volunteers on our side.
No, it usually is a problem to choose who will play. Like, you don't want to exclude people because you just want to exclude them. You want to make sure that everyone can test stuff, but there's not enough games. Even when we have 3 games going on, we need to account that some players need to play a little bit more, because, for example, they have kid that was just born, so they are good players but cannot afford to go for tournaments locally, so they have to play those TTS games to keep in touch with the meta. So there's a lot of small factors that you need to factor in when choosing the team. It's not really serious, because if you do not choose someone, the next time you can choose them, as they were omitted in the previous game. But depending on the strength of the opposing team, we also like to give a chance to new bloods, or rather choose players who were already kind of experienced in our community.
All right, and with that background setting, Majson, what about the team?
Okay, so we also have here Drakelder, Chukari player, Custodes, the different lists that basically the one that we are testing is Emperor's Chosen list, and the second one is Shadow Keepers. So here we got Emperor's Chosen, I believe. Then Grey Knights, just to see how they fare after the nerf. We got Orcs, and AdMech. Also here we play with other list of AdMech. Versus Spain we've got Mars-based list, and here's Lucius-based list. Then we got Thousand Suns, Necrons, and we are testing Tau here.
All right. So, what have you got? What's changed? You've got Tau here and Thousand Suns instead of Chaos Knights, and I know there are more differences, aren't there?
Also Necrons. We got
Yeah,
Necrons
yeah,
here,
yeah, yeah.
and we do not have Gene Stealer Crowds or Sisters in this.
Yeah, yeah, that's quite a lot of differences. Okay, so never mind that. So, right, we're not mentioning the opposing team factions then, are we?
No. I think it would be fair to not talk about it as they ask us to.
Okay, well, I guess we'll have to come back to this one after you played out those games and after they had their tournament, and then we can...
Or at least they had their list submission deadline.
Yeah. And then we can see what the feedback from the games is, and you, our dear listeners, will find out what they took. Okay, in that case, I think it would only be fitting to move on to the last friendly against Ireland. Wouldn't you say, guys?
Yeah, I can just.
Because I think we can't really say much
Yeah,
about
I
the
wasn't
French
so
game
involved.
at this point.
I wasn't so involved into the
yeah,
Irish match because Majson wanted to be a captain of one, so I won't have much to add about that one.
Actually, we have started scheduling this matchup in December, but we decided with the Irish captain to wait for chapter approved to arrive, and then play the whole matchup.
Same was with Spain and France. Actually, we were set way before as well.
And also the idea for this from our side was to test the new codexes and check how it goes. So we decided to take the same factions, but also some different lists. For example, here we got the third type of Custodes list to test based on 2 globes of custodian guards with Shadow Keepers. We got the second match with our Gene Stealer Cults list. We got Necrons also, Renegade Knights, more or less the same lists than we usually play. There's your Drukari Joker. Maybe you can talk about this list a little more if you want to.
Yeah, sure, I can mention it. I mean, it's pretty much the usual take on Artists of Flesh to see how they're gonna how they now work after the nerf, and if it's still a valid obsession to choose. And I opted to take a Patro of Cult of Strife because of a couple of additional stratagems that it offers, like no Overwatch against Tau that shoot Overwatch like crazy and can kill you running into them. And also I opted to try 10 Witches again. They used to be the thing to take, but then they got a points hike way back with the first data slate. But with so much -1 damage running around, and as it's also a unit that can reroll wounds through his stratagem, I thought maybe it's worth checking them out if they can do some work.
I would actually add one thing about building lists with Drukari, for which non-Drukari players will hate me, but it's really hard to actually figure out what to take in that army right now because everything is so viable.
That's true.
Like, I'm struggling because I have too much choice, which probably Grey Knight players, Sister players, and all the basically nearly every army in the game, players hate Drukari for that because you have so much viable units, man.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I'm playing in this friendly. I've got 2 local leagues, and we're also playing the TTS league, and I've got 4 different lists for all of these, just because there's so much stuff that you can try out. Especially now, it seems they really have flattened it out so that there's no obvious picks.
Which I think should be a goal to make every codex in the game like this, but
Yeah, totally.
it's not as easy.
No. So yeah, let the hate flow through all the non-Drukhari players.
I do not play Drukhari daily, so I will just keep my voice down on this topic.
Yes, especially after sisters can't mix sub-factions.
Yeah,
And Admech.
yeah,
And Gene-Stealer codes.
all of my favorite armies down with one change. So, yeah, but that's Warhammer 40k. We got 3 other lists here. So we took also Tau on broadsides and another take on Sisters of Battle. So we'll try our Martyred Lady order here. We'll see how it fares, how it plays, because we haven't taken our Martyred Lady list on the.
But we've played against one.
Yeah, we played against one, but we haven't used that in these matches.
Is that the one that just got a supplement, or is it due one?
It's
I
the
can't keep up with sisters.
Yeah, it got supplement way back.
Way back.
Oh, okay.
During holidays or something like that.
And the supplement was okay, but it was, at least in my opinion, it wasn't as good as the mix of Bloody Rose and Agile Shroud. And now it's the time that it actually.
But you could make an argument to play it.
Yeah.
Even before.
Yeah.
And Canadians played it against us, and it worked okay.
Yeah. Nothing. Yeah, nothing special, but nothing bad also. And the last one is we decided to take a Stampede list here just to see how it goes in the tables. If anyone got any counter to that. So
that's actually just the only Stampede, isn't it, in those 3 games?
Yeah, on our side, yes.
Yes.
But also
yes.
Irish players got one. So that's a fair.
Yeah, we agreed against French and Spanish that we. I think I'm not sure whether we agreed about that with Spanish, but with French we agreed that we're not breaking. No, no.
What you mean we're let's say we're both not bringing it, or just you guys aren't bringing it?
No. We're both not bringing it. Let's have some fun in those games. Actually,
I just need to speak to Irish captain and agree that we'll throw both Stampedes on themselves and let them play whatever. Just do not spoil the fun for the others.
Yes, yes. I'm all up for that. I don't want to play that for sure.
Okay, so going back to the list,
go on.
they got the Crusher Stampede a little different take than ours because they only got one Hive Guard squad, and
we, I think, as the only country in the world, are playing Tervigans instead of Maleceptors.
Yeah, then there's no Tervigon here.
Yeah, but those guys also don't have a Maleceptor. But yes, I agree. I think the Maleceptor was very popular in the US, at least as much as I've seen stuff around Facebook or what have you, and yeah, the Tervigon never appeared in their lists.
Yeah, when Vladi won the tournament, I remember reading Reddit comments around that Gunhammer article that people were surprised that Tervigon actually won an event, and there was a lot of reasons to actually bring a Tervigon to the table, but turns out we are the only ones who actually thought about it.
Ah, so you do read some 40k content.
Yeah, well, I do not watch. I do read Gunhammer to see how they say that Space Marines are viable and bash on them.
Yes, maybe you even listen to some 40k content.
Nah.
Just not watch. Okay, we'll see. I'll catch you out on that one maybe one day. Okay, yeah, so they've got the obvious Crusher Stampede, or not so obvious. What else have they got?
Then we got G-Steel calls, and they decided to go with Twisted Helix, and multiple small units take on that. It's interesting because it basically we identified two lists that can play well, and one is Twisted Helix, and the second one is based on custom code, which we use. Yeah, so basically 3 units of Pure Strains, 3 units of Metamorphs, and some Acolytes, and there are 5 units of 5 Acolytes here, so some objective play, we'll see how it goes. Then we got Thousand Suns, 2 blocks of Terminators. Then we've got interesting list of Astro Militarum. Basically, somebody likes the Melta profile very much, because we got Tempestus Science, 6 squads, 4 Malta guns each. Then we got 2 Tempestus command squads, 4 Malta gun each. Then we got 6 ordinary infantry squads with no Maltas, but yeah.
A chicken.
Yeah, 3 squads of combat engineers and 1 command squad of 3 Malta guns and some mortars on that. Yeah, it's basically a lot of toughness 3 bodies with Malta guns coming from deep strikes, and but still it's a quite old codex, so we'll see. But
yeah, but feels like it could go into our meta quite well, because the amount of bodies and anti-tank shots, there's not really much that could be able to chew through all of those bodies.
it could work, but such a list, I'm also always worried that they give up no prisoners secondary very easily. So.
Well, yeah, they give up.
And currently, you kinda don't want to give up secondaries.
Yes, because
with the new missions.
Yeah, it's easier to score primaries. Also, there are no tricks in this list, so only 9 inches deep strikes. So it could be easy to screen, even in Crusher Stampede. It's could be easy to screen from the Meltas here. Okay, then we got the Adeptus Custodes list, Emperor's Chosen, standard list with some minor tweaks. Then we got the another Melta profile list. So we got Adeptus Auritas. It's built based on Argent Shroud. Basically, 3 Retributor squads, 3 Sister squads, all equipped with Meltas. And also 5 Seraphim squad, 5 Seraphims with 4 Infernal Pistols. Yeah. Still, I can't
I can see a pattern there.
Yeah. Actually, I thought about this list before the nerf, but yeah, it's the problem is that we cannot get anyone out of the objective, which is behind the wall, behind the ruin, because the close combat here is not so efficient. Lucky Bloody Rolls. Then we got Orcs list. Also, it's Goths with Kilrix and Gazgul as Warlord.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we never kind of understood. Why would you play Goths?
But they're quite popular in the Western Hemisphere, aren't they? I think it's like the most common orc build, I think.
We still don't think it works. At least from our experience, like I think the best score we actually got with that list, or that list got against us, was 0 points. So it doesn't bode well.
I also do not get the Kilrix because I played against Kilrix with different lists a couple of times, and they just it's so hard to move this model from.
Yeah, I think when your opponent doesn't know how the movement phase rule, what are the rules for the movement phase, and how cumbersome it can be to actually move those models, and how much they actually lose when they move, and how any part of the model cannot be off the table, etc., etc. So there's a lot of small things that really hinder those models, and when you don't really care about that, I can see it being a little bit better. But when you include the fact that any rotations will cost you movement, it's so slow. It's crazy how slow those models are. And you can't hide them.
Exactly.
And they have 6+ input, so any anti-tank shooting will just melt them.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not sold on the kill rigs. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, okay.
Also, there's one more list. They got also Drukhari list, which is.
Oh yeah, it's just not in the file. I'm scrolling through the file, but it was uploaded later to the Discord. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, and it's I think that's its standard approach with Artist of Flesh and Cult of Strife and Blackheart. Yeah, a lot of multiple small units here.
Yeah, but it's not heavy on grotesques like the lists that we play.
Yeah, and there are four riders here, so quite a lot of points in transport here. But still, there are 4 HQs that can be very, very good at the table.
Oh yes, yeah, they can pack a punch. It's a bit old school, that list, nowadays. We'll see how it fares, because I actually preferred playing Drukhari in that manner rather than the Covens. But with TTS,
they are
you can
not
play
fun.
anything at any day.
Or if you have a spending problem, you can play anything as well.
True, that's true.
I'm just looking at my 18 Talsai boxes, thinking like, yeah, I'm surely gonna play you guys now.
Well,
one day.
good
one
for
day.
you.
One day.
Yes, well, one day they will be built, all of them built. Right, so I don't think we can say much more because, as we've mentioned in the beginning, Majson, you're only going to be pairing the day after tomorrow, and I don't know when this episode would come out, so I guess it's not a good idea to share any strategies or whatnot.
Yeah, but you can tell us your perspective on the whole system of playing those games, because we are usually just a guest who tell from our perspective as the organizers, but you can actually tell as a player who haven't been in the whole WTC team championships format that much. You played mostly at Polish team championships, right?
Yeah.
So what's your take on like this whole TTS thing? Because I know it's very divisive between people how they feel about it.
I think it's amazing, and I wish I started sooner than I actually did, because I think I've only started around playing around December. I don't think I've even got 5 games in on TTS, but it's really great for testing ideas and the opportunity to play with you guys against some other like players who are best in their countries respectively. Just a great opportunity, and well, especially when for someone like me who doesn't get to play that much in real life either because of well, life, it's just great. And yeah, I think it goes a really long way to improving one at the game.
That's great to hear. That's what we actually wanted to accomplish in those 2 years of choosing the team. Actually, that we wanted to make sure that all the new faces can actually feel included and participate and get a feeling of how this whole team thing works. And I think that we've actually convince some people that playing the team style of 40k is way more fun than bandwagoning between the next biggest power creep that GW provides, and that you can actually enjoy the game more when you're not playing for yourself.
Yeah, I agree, and I think the team format is really popular in Poland, and it's only going to be more popular, if you will. So really looking forward to our team championships in September, and obviously rooting for the guys that will go to the WTC. And now, if I get to play 1 or 2 of these friendlies, it will even feel like I've contributed somewhat to that success. Hopefully, success. Fingers crossed.
I'm pretty sure that with all the hours we've spent to get those games in, to prepare the best armies, etc., we will falter at like one last step because we will get fucked by dice rolls. I'm mentally preparing for that one. 2 years of preparation, sweating, thinking a lot, like literally playing few games every month. Everything for pure team composition. When we even go to those singles, we play pure team composition, and then we will get fucked by one dice roll that we didn't go first in certain game. I'm so looking forward to that one.
Yeah, just missing those clutch 4-ups when they're most needed.
Yes, yes. Well, that's how you get crowned as a champion, right? You just need to be better player at the table. That's what I always say when I win roll-offs in the roll-off player. I'm just better, man. What can I tell you?
Yes, yes. It's a skill to roll dice, isn't it?
Yes. Especially, I love when you play those games and you roll those roll-offs who goes first, and you do not look down on the dice. You just look right into the eyes of your opponent and see who crumbles first. I love. I don't care if I won, but if I won and I challenge them mentally that way, I'm already step further ahead when they see that I actually won that roll, for example. It's great.
Yeah, I have to try that one day.
But I'm embracing the Drukari way of inflicting pain. That might be me.
Yes, power from pain it is. Right. I don't think we've got more for today. It's also quite late in the evening, and you guys have just gone through 2 sets of pairings for those games we just spoke about. So, I don't know, any last remarks from anyone?
If any other national team is listening to this and you guys wanna play a game against us, just hit us up. You can even comment on the podcast. I think it's
Yes,
easy
definitely.
to connect with us because we want more. That's how you get better. You just need to get those reps in.
Yeah,
Maybe
there's-
Majson, you have something to add as well.
No, I think no. I'm a little bit tired for today.
Yeah, it's been a
there's
long
quite
one.
a big community around the national team here in Poland, so there's definitely going to be 8 volunteers to play against anyone who dares to challenge.
Yep.
And yeah, you're most invited to anyone who's listening out there.
If you manage to survive this podcast.
Hey, this is
Yeah.
going to be one of the shorter ones, so
Yeah,
hopefully.
yeah.
All right, in that case, thanks, guys. So that was Typhus and Majson from the national team, selectors, managers. I don't know what would be the more fitting word. And it was myself, Joker, from Contact Lost. Thanks very much for tuning in, and remember to hit that subscribe, like, or whatever. I'm not the best at advertising this, but it does help us grow, as each content creator will tell you. Until next time, bye bye.
Hey.
Thanks. Bye.